In disclosure-related news this week, we look at the continuing soft disclosure of the existence of life beyond Earth and particularly the revelations of our galactic families. An article posted on ufodigest.com by Carolyn Shield reminded people that the Vatican hosted a conference in 2009 bringing scientists, astronomers, and religious leaders together to discuss the implications on religion and human consciousness if the discovery of extraterrestrial life is found. One of the statements made in the conference was the fact that extraterrestrials would be part of God's creation and therefore regarded as our extraterrestrial brother. Shield also reported on another conference held in September of this year by NASA, in which theologians were invited, including the Vatican. The purpose of the conference was to explore the implications to humankind of the revelations of life beyond Earth, especially intelligent life. Shield notes that NASA and the Library of Congress brought together scientists, theologians, and astronomers to discuss and prepare the world for the inevitable discovery of life in the universe. They don't stop at just microbe life, but go further and added intelligent life. NASA wants to prepare the public before the discovery and the announcement, as well as the Vatican. Theologians were invited, and one wonders if the scientists were giving the different churches and denominations the heads up, that they need to prepare their congregations because the inevitable announcement will come. It has been predominantly North Americans that have been kept in the dark about the existence of life beyond Earth, or who have been conditioned to be fearful of any extraterrestrial presence or contact. Scientists at the conference apparently seemed to feel that societies worldwide would be able to handle any potential announcement and then would continue with their lives. This is pretty much what has been going on in the world anyway, except in North America. A question was asked if an intelligent extraterrestrial life form has a soul. The article noted that one of the Jesuit astronomers answered he believes they do, and he would be excited with the announcement. Seth Shotak, writing for the Huffington Post on September 25th, cautions readers on being caught up in a purely anthropocentric assumption. He writes, "Beware of anthropocentrism. In other words, don't assume that they will be similar to us ethically, culturally, or cognitively. We were told that our hunt for aliens assumes that they are like us. That kind of provincial attitude, it was said, will doom SETI to endless frustration. If we don't think outside our own biological box, we'll fail to find any company in the cosmos." Shotak was a bit more pessimistic, however, in saying what the most plausible answer of what we could learn about aliens is that it would be not much. Are there more hints that some kind of galactic disclosure is imminent? The US VeteransToday.com website appears to be venturing more and more into the topic of disclosure, as perhaps it should, since they represent people who have apparently operated within numerous branches of service with varied levels of clearance to information of this nature. According to Preston James in a prepared introduction to his article on September 30th, there has been a long-term energetic effort to keep this information from we the people, as well as anyone, including the high military command, who does not have what they define as a quote-unquote absolute need to know. Recently, during the last several years, a group known as Majestic 12, the secret group that has maintained authority over all alien ET matters since it was created by President Truman in 1947, has apparently voted to allow public disclosure. Preston refers to what he calls a ruling crime cabal, or RCC, consisting of a working alliance between the Bush Family Crime Cabal, or BCC, and the International Zionist Crime Syndicate, or IZCS. This alliance, according to Preston, gained power in three major coups d'etats. The first in 1913 with the illegal, unconstitutional passage of the Federal Reserve Act, the second with the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, and the third with the deployment of a Gladio-style false flag inside job nuclear attack on America on September the 11th, 2001. It was during this time that Israel used nuclear blackmail to coerce the U.S. administration and top USG officials to allow the creation of Homeland Security, the department known as DHS. The creation of Israeli-controlled Homeland Security provided an illegal, unconstitutional consolidation of all American alphabets, law enforcement, and most intel into one large, easy-to-control Israeli occupying police state army inside America. In the article itself, however, James proceeds to offer information claiming things are beginning to change. James writes that the most secret agency of the U.S. government has apparently decided that disclosure is now going to be allowed despite the existing official but secret USG policy against it. New information has emerged. It now appears that even though the ruling crime cabal, also known as the Illuminati, has been against alien ET disclosure, the super-secret organization called Majestic 12 has decided that disclosure will be allowed. Apparently, Majestic 12 has also decided that this disclosure must be done in a controlled manner so as to not panic the populace or fracture the existing everyday social and economic order. Disclosure will lead to the implementation of populism, the implementation of free energy, and the end of the petroleum-based economy, which would be the RCC's biggest nightmare. In contrast to the apparent new policy of Majestic 12 for full disclosure in orderly steps, strong efforts are still being made by the ruling crime cabal to maintain this secret policy of no disclosure. These efforts to prevent disclosure are now doomed to failure, mostly due to the emerging worldwide populism that has spontaneously arisen as a byproduct of the Internet and its ability to communicate information at the speed of light. But there is another reason that disclosure is imminent. Free energy systems have been discovered and developed and are ready to be rolled out and will completely displace the petroleum-based energy systems which control the world. The article is lengthy and cannot be covered in full, but here are some of the highlights of the report. James notes that the RCC appears to be cornered from all sides, with many vectors converging on them, in addition to the rapid rate at which their crimes against Americans and the world are being exposed and communicated to the masses. It was the RCC that seized control over the official U.S. government and much of the secret shadow government after they assassinated John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King, and Robert Kennedy. It was Prescott Bush who allegedly worked for Nikola Tesla and who also eventually betrayed him. Although Prescott Bush was arrested and indicted, their ruling was sealed, and it was also believed that no one of the Bush family or their German family named Scherf could ever run for office. With the theft of that document, Preston notes that Ronald Reagan became the last duly elected president of the U.S. Part of the reason for this choice to now disclose is that the news is becoming known anyway, as mentioned earlier. Another part of the reason was linked to parts of the U.S. government being hijacked by a particular group of ETs that had a darker agenda for Earth and humans. It has been alleged, and James seems to affirm, that this group of ETs and members within the USG signed an agreement that would result in a sharing of technologies and access to wealth and power in exchange for access to humans for DNA testing. This group has used the alleged consent of the people as the justification to act on their behalf to sell them off as pawns while they reap rewards, power, and wealth. In other words, it could arguably be considered a form of galactic admiralty law, with commercial agreements and rules put into place without any formal consent from those to whom these rules were being applied. If the world is to stop the rollout of this alien agenda, James writes, that the solution is twofold. First, expose them for what they are, cosmic parasites who have possessed, anointed, and empowered some very evil, twisted top leaders who have become criminal psychopaths and are demon-infested. Resist draconian mind control, attitude cloning, and dumbing down at every level. The second solution is to resist their agenda in mass by refusing to consume their pornography, mind-numbing TV programming, and a 100% commitment to live by the golden rule. Not their, but the real one. Their golden rule is gold rules. That it is he who has the gold can buy everyone and everything they want. The real golden rule is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The ruling super elite deviants cannot live by this rule of do unto others because it is no longer within their nature. When 10% of mass consciousness is reached, which it already has, it is only a matter of time when the Illuminati breaks down. Now, the critical mass is actually 11% in America and moving towards the 12% mark. At 12%, the turning point is reached and the Illuminati system will no longer be supported by we the people and will become unsupported and even psychologically attacked at every single level of American society. What I have been sharing is part of what I call the bigger picture, the revealing of truth that helps humanity awaken to what has been on our planet. There is also what I call the bigger picture, the larger spiritual reason for why all of this is unfolding. James notes, apparently there are accepted rules of play in the universe established by the Creator God Almighty, and that is that any ET alien group of fallen ones cannot take over another group such as humans without obtaining their consent. And apparently there is another rule of play that the use of fission, fusion, or free energy, also known as dark energy, cannot be allowed to get out of hand in waging war, and cannot be allowed to become a serious threat to the existence of planet Earth and perhaps other parts of the universe. To James, sources have suggested an intervention has begun taking place by the more benevolent members of our galactic families because humanity has begun waking up and no longer desires to be enslaved. This act of awakening and of declaring that they no longer wish to be slaves is a form of consent that allows the help to arrive in ways that follow the rules according to universal law. This requires people from all Western countries, but especially from the U.S., to become informed and begin taking their country and their government back, preferably as peacefully and as lawfully as possible. The increased number of false flag attacks over the last year have been a sign of increased desperation among the global cabal. From the 3D bigger picture perspective, James has speculated that one reason for a shift in the decision to disclose by MJ12 is because they have acquired parity with the space weapons used by the occupying members of the cabal and negative ETs. This may have happened as a result of information shared by Sheldon Neidl, who has reported that the Anunnaki, a former negative group of our galactic families, has now switched allegiances, and thus those who have gone rogue, including the global cabal, no longer have access to increasingly advanced weapons, allowing for the balance of consciousness to shift. From the fifth dimensional bigger picture perspective, there may be cause to question some of this because the alleged New Earth or Golden Age of consciousness may not be fully birthed if weapons are used for its manifestation. If they are used for defense, this may be one thing, but if they are used for the manifestation of something different, then the birthing global consciousness will be no better than that of the old. It is therefore up to humanity to see how this unfolds for the highest good of all. Has a major turning point taken place? Apparently, there are at least 3 events that James is aware of that suggests this is the case. James writes, the first incident was the phone message left on Ambassador Lee Wanta's Washington, D.C. Embassy phone system by former Tennessee Governor Don Sundquist and former South Dakota State Senator Sheldon Songstad. The second incident was the recent announcement by U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder that he was resigning. Were these 2 matters connected, or was this recorded threat to Lee Wanta just the final straw that broke the camel's back? It was also recently ruled by a federal judge that the Benghazi documents could no longer be withheld after November 1st, 2014. Some believe that if the full documents are released by Holder's office, many top administration folks, and some former ones, will be politically ruined and some even prosecutable. And the third recent major event. Veterans Today own Professor Jim Fetzer. Veterans Today editor and his fellow researchers have completely cracked the Sandy Hook event, which was a false flag attack on the Second Amendment and a FEMA DHS capstone level drill, with no dead kids, no dead teachers, no dead Lanzas, all faked using paid shills and actors and a pre-prepared 50,000-word script. According to James, the Zionist Israelis and their partners have destabilized Ukraine and have turned Ukrainians against Russians for the purposes of killing each other off, leaving the valuable land for the future of a new Israel. There are aspects of this report that I am not sure I resonate with completely. As I try to do, I suggest you also use your own discernment to find the pieces of information within the story that are meaningful to you in this moment of now. CVN gently notes that although many sources still refer to our galactic families as aliens, it is suggested that people make an attempt, as long as it resonates personally with one's own beliefs, to start discussing life beyond Earth as a family. After all, everything is energy, as you will hear momentarily. We are all connected at a very profound, energetic, scientific, and yet spiritual level.